Welcome back to the Fit Minute Podcast, where we talk all things health, fitness, and lifestyle. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome back. I'm your host, Gabby Mazur, and on today's episode, I have Dr. Amy Gulledge with Nikao Performance and Rehab. She's a physical therapist, and we're going to talk about physical therapy and fitness and how to stay ahead of the game today. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how you got into physical therapy and exactly what you do as a therapist.
Yeah, great question. So I actually got in as I was an injured athlete, and surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, a lot of physical therapists come in because they had some sort of previous injury, and that's how they got introduced to the profession. So for me, I was in high school. I played soccer and volleyball, tore both ACLs. So ended up having surgery, ended up in physical therapy, and realized like, oh my gosh, I love this, and I could totally make a career out of this. So yeah, it was kind of full steam ahead after I decided that at age 17. So, and I still love it.
That's kind of, a lot of people don't know exactly what they want to do. And I think actually that's how most people get into kind of this field, like health and fitness, and into something they love, is either through an injury or through something that they're personally going through,
Yeah,
especially like in health and fitness specifically.
exactly. Yeah, it just really makes me kind of thankful that I had those injuries because physical therapy is totally my lane. For those of you who don't really know about physical therapy, a lot of people do, but for those of you who don't, physical therapy is kind of a little bit newer profession. It came out of the world wars. So we had a lot of injured people in the Army and Air Force that needed extra help. And so this profession was birthed to kind of help a lot of our injured warriors. And, we stayed a profession ever since. A lot of times focusing on pain and injury but really we're into everything physical. So bones, muscles, joints, nerves, and we look at, function and helping the body to move better, helping the body to perform better, and helping the body to feel better.
Yeah, the rehabilitation aspect of what you're doing, the injury and the rehab of World War, you're trying to get the soldiers back to, well, either to working because they lost a limb or whatnot, but or back into war, back to fighting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what makes you different? What makes your business and you as a therapist different than other therapists?
Yeah. I kind of ended up out of school into the traditional physical therapy model that I kind of call the PT factory. So, a lot of people that have been through physical therapy, they know they go to a physical therapy facility. It's a large room, a lot of tables, a lot of people. They'll see their physical therapist maybe about 15 minutes, and then they kind of get passed off to a tech that is going to take them through their exercises. So I actually have a background in personal training, and, I got a little bit frustrated feeling like I wasn't able to spend enough time with patients and clients. And I kind of missed being able to kind of be a part of their exercise and their exercise programming a little bit more. I felt like I was kind of shoved into this box, and it's just kind of like high churn, and it wasn't really working for me. So that's when I stepped out. Nikao Performance and Rehab was born, where what's different about us is that we're really holistic. So we focus on more than just the joints. We like to focus on the full body. We have a pretty in-depth conversation with people about their fitness levels, things that they're trying to get back to doing. Because, if you come into me for shoulder pain, you're more than just your shoulder. We'll take a look at your shoulder, but I want to know about all the other things that you want to get back to doing, aside from being able to sleep better at night without shoulder pain. What are things, do you want to be able to play with your kids? Do you want to get back, you're a fitness competitor and you want to get back to, lifting heavy in the gym? And so, all of these have kind of a different strategy for, programming. And so we're very customized, very one-on-one. And I think that's what makes us very successful as well.
What's interesting about what you just said was that you, as the therapist, were frustrated. Imagine how the client feels. If you're
Right.
frustrated as the therapist, imagine how the client feels being passed off to somebody else.
Yeah.
They want
It,
that one-on-one attention. They want that attention not to just be passed off to somebody else. To
right.
go to a therapist, to see a therapist, to work with the expert, not to work and not that an assistant is not educated or doesn't know as well, but you want to work with somebody because you want to work with somebody, right? And
Yeah.
just to be going to see somebody for 15 minutes and then passed off to somebody else to do a different program is it's frustrating, you know?
Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely a double-edged sword. I mean, being in it, we see both sides. We see the business side of it. It's kind of a separate conversation of, health insurance and that sort of level of reimbursement. Like I understand why the model became what it did, based
Absolutely.
on, insurance and kind of what they are actually reimbursing, which is a lot smaller than what people think. But yeah, therapists get frustrated too. And, for people that aren't aware, a lot of times the doctors that are kind of running in and out of the rooms, I mean, they don't want to have to do that either. Nobody wants
No.
100 notes at the end of the day. It's just unfortunate where kind of our healthcare model has turned to. And I think that, we need people to kind of step out of that box, be a little bit more innovative, think about, what's a different way that we could still build a business model that really services patients, and maybe be able to do it a little bit better. And I think that's, we need more people kind of stepping out and striving for that.
And I think what's even more frustrating too is, not getting into the healthcare aspect, but touching on that just a little bit is that that number has also decreased over the last probably 10 to 20 years. Whereas the payout used to be a little bit more, it has actually gotten smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So for therapists, it's very difficult when you go through, people don't want to go through insurance anymore because you're not making any money. You're making less money than you were 5, 10, 15 years ago and
Yeah.
having to work twice as hard, which you're right, that business model has changed. So it is very difficult to give the care, the type of care that you want to give to a patient and also make money at the same time. So you have to juggle between the care of your client, the care of your patient, and taking care of business and the
Right.
care of your business and also paying your bills at the same time,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, there's definitely been a little bit of a shift. I mean, we do start to see more therapists that are kind of like branching out of the traditional model, as we call it. But for patients and clients, like they should have an option, and they should know that there are options and different things available. For people that say they are self pay, or they have really high deductibles, and so they rather pay cash. I mean, why are they still ending up in these models where they're still seeing a provider for only 15 minutes, but they're paying more money than what the insurance would pay? And I've actually been on that side too, where that was me, and it was it becomes kind of a frustrating experience because like, hey, I'm actually paying you more than what the insurance would, and you don't have to go through all the headache and hassle, but you're still not getting quite that time, or perceived value from the therapist. And so, yeah, it's kind of just a little bit different shift in models. And, we think we do a pretty good job with it, over at Nikao. Really, our motto is like, put patients and clients first and the money will follow. And so, we do that time and time again. Like we really just want to do the best for our patients, for our clients. That's kind of where my passion lies. And I believe that, you treat people right, then the money will follow. And that's really what needs to be our focus. So,
Absolutely. You have to take care of people. You have to take care of people first because you can't worry about the dollar. You have to worry about the patient because if you're not taking care of them, if you're not taking care of your client, then they're not going to be there anyway.
right.
So, I wanted to talk about kind of the relationship between fitness and physical therapy, because there's a huge relationship there, especially when it comes to Pilates, because we get a lot of people that come after rehab or doing rehab in the Pilates community, because it's such a low impact form of exercise, a low impact modality, that it works so well with physical therapy. But um, what role does physical therapy play when it comes to fitness or when it comes to exercise?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of trained to be the experts. I think that traditionally, I don't know why we're not perceived so much kind of in that role, but really physical therapists should be helping to guide people with their activity plans. And with that comes a lot of teamwork. It's I want patients and clients, I want to know what activities they like doing, what they're involved in already. And then we get, their injury history, what they have going on, how they're moving. And then we start to like put it all together. And you're right. I mean, Pilates is the great, form of exercise for that reason of being kind of low impact. It works well with a lot of people. And physical therapists should be able to kind of come in and work right alongside and say, hey, okay, you're working with this, you have Pilates a few days a week, or you're working with this personal trainer. They should have an understanding of what those people are doing, what the patient's doing, and then kind of design things around that. Do we need to add in a little bit of PT exercises on the side? Are they getting most of it while they're doing Pilates? I kind of have a story where I worked at a facility before, and we had a girl she was a gymnast, and she was coming in, and part of her exercises in the facility was doing planks. And so I looked at her and I said, how many times do you do planks when you're in gymnastics? Because she has gymnastics every single day. She said, I do them every single day. I said, great. We're not doing them in here. So that's important, is to have an understanding of the physical activities that, patients and clients are doing outside of the facility. But really, we kind of help to guide a lot of that, make sure that people know, hey, I love the fact that you're in Pilates a couple days a week. Let's talk about what you're doing for cardio. Do you need a low impact cardio activity to help with that as well? Let's look at your flexibility. Let's see where that's at. What are you having issues with? So yeah, everything should really be customized for patients and clients, and physical therapists should be able to kind of help guide and navigate through that.
Yeah, and you should have that symbiotic relationship, because you want to do what's best for that client. Like, I have a client who is hyper flexible. I can never remember what it's called. Tell me again, what's the name?
So
The
Ehlers-Danlos syndrome
Thank you.
is, yes.
That she has that, and we work very closely with her physical therapist. The teacher that I have working with her talks on the phone with her physical therapist, because we want to know what she's doing with her and what she's doing with us, so that we can work best together to to best see improvement with her. And she does very well, and has seen improvement and loves it. But how do you know what she's doing here, what she's doing there? What, you have to have that relationship and that conversation. And it's important to know exactly. Are you doing planks every single day? Why do you need to do them here? Let's do something that's going to improve you there, not just do the same thing. You don't
Right.
need to be doing planks 6 days a week. If you're already doing them when you're doing gymnastics, we don't need to continue doing that. Let's do something else, right?
Right, right. Yeah, I think it's really important to just, have a general understanding of what your patients and clients are doing, what their activities are outside. I love having relationships with other individuals, like other coaches, other personal trainers, other doctors. Even today, I went and met with an ortho doc, and I was like, can I just get your cell phone number? Because, once again, that having that direct communication just works so well. And, just to be able to shoot a message over to somebody, hey, I got so-and-so, they're coming into you. These are the things that we're working on. This is like what I would love to see, and I think, when you have that kind of a team it works so well for patients and clients. And, they feel good about it too, like people
Yeah.
that really care about them.
So let's kind of touch a little bit on on flexibility. Obviously, I talked about having a patient that is too flexible, hyperflexibility. Uh, and also there's the other side of that being too stiff. What can happen in those instances? What happens if you are hyperflexible? What happens if you are not flexible at all?
Yeah.
What kind of
Yeah.
situations can occur in that?
Yeah. I tell people, with everything in life, there's that balance, right? Like too much or too little of anything is generally never good. And so what we're usually striving for is kind of like what is optimal. And so, we see this and we see this with research. If we have people that have way too much, flexibility or mobility, usually that's through like elasticity in their joints, and they're kind of like they're Gumby people. So we'll see that with like dancers, gymnasts. And then people that are like way too stiff, where it's like they're not really getting any movement.
Mm.
Either end of the spectrum is usually the people that are a little bit higher injury risk. So, what we're striving for is kind of that middle ground of like what is optimal. So my people that are too stiff, it's like, man, we really need to get you on some mobility. We need to get you on some flexibility stuff, some mobility stuff. People that are, hyper mobile, super flexible, those are people that it's like, hey, we really don't need to stretch you. We actually need to work more on like stabilizing. Let's just work on strengthening things. And if you feel tight, you could go foam roll, you could go ball roll, but stretching is not the thing for you. So there's other ways to kind of get those muscles to relax and release, that aren't going to further play into kind of that hypermobility. So, but yeah, I always tell people, we're looking for somewhere in the middle ground. And generally we kind of test people out, and we could tell people where they're at in the big spectrum of things.
Yeah, ways to prevent injury, because obviously those two things can cause injury. If you're really, really tight, if you're really, really flexible, you have a lot higher risk for sure.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What is your advice to stay active, to stay more physically active throughout life, and how to prevent injury, how to age gracefully, types of exercise or things to do that can help you to stay safe and well and without injury forever? Not forever, because you can't stay without injury forever, but you know, with less injury for your lifetime.
Yeah, yeah. And this is one of those great questions that, as physical therapists, I mean, you should have a good physical therapist that is kind of like your PT for life, just like you have your primary care physician. So, you'll see over time that it might change a little bit. Like your chosen activities are going to change. I used to play soccer, and the last time I was out on the soccer field, I collided with one of my teammates and twisted up my knee, and I was kind of limping around the clinic. And I realized that, what, that's just not worth it for me anymore at this point in my life. It's not worth it. It's too high of a risk for me. And I made the decision, I'm just going to, hang up my soccer cleats, and I'm going to pursue, different activities. But really, it comes down to what do you enjoy and what can you be consistent with? And some of that might change over the years. I used to be a runner. I used to run all the time. I had a hip labral surgery, and that kind of stopped me from running. And so at that point, you're kind of pursuing like, okay, I know I need to be active. What are some other avenues that I could then pursue to, keep me active, keep me strong? And yeah, looking at something like, Pilates. I think one of the main draws to Pilates is because it is a good activity through the lifespan. You could be younger, do Pilates, you could be older, do Pilates. Other activities, maybe not so much. We don't see too many people that are 50, 55 years old out there playing soccer.
Right.
When you look at the basketball court, you start to see it's kind of the little bit of the younger guys. You don't see too many people out there 60 years old out on the basketball court. And it's just for reasons that you'll have some of those changes that happen in your body. And it doesn't mean like, hey, go sit on the couch, because once again, too little of something, right? You need to keep up your activity levels, but those just might change a little bit.
Yeah.
So
We definitely see it like as you age, you don't recover as quickly.
yeah,
So injuries hit you a lot harder.
definitely.
And
Hmm.
even if it's not a major injury, even if it's just like, you know, even not even a pulled muscle, but just like you went a little too hard one day, it might take you, instead of 2 or 3 days, it might take you 4 or 5, you know. So it's, you have to kind of adjust how you do things. If it's not running, it's now walking. If it's not basketball, it's now pickleball. If it's not, you know, CrossFit, it might now be, Orange Theory. I don't know, so you're just adjusting what you're doing. And that is one of the things I do love about Pilates, is because you really can do it at any age.
Hmm.
The thing is, there isn't much, if any, cardio in Pilates, unless, I mean, even
Sure.
if you're doing jump board, there is a little bit, but you're not going to get much of that in there.
Yeah.
So, you do have to find other avenues for that, but you do have to adjust and kind of find those things that you like to do or love to do, but what's best for your body at any age, for sure.
Yeah, right. And talking to, a good PT that knows you, I mean, you guys should be able to have those conversations and, really kind of get into, hey, let's try some things. And maybe, yeah, maybe you've never done that stuff before, and those are avenues that you could kind of look into. But really it's going to come down to what can you be consistent with?
Mhm.
And, for that, it's like what can people find joy with? What can they really enjoy? And stuff like Pilates and some of the other groups. I think too, just the community of that, being able to build community, having maybe some group stuff where you're able to meet with some of the same people, some of your friends. And so that usually works really well for people. And also on the accountability side as well.
Yep. So what's your best advice to give people that are trying to improve their fitness levels, or just improve their fitness, or maybe be more consistent even with?
Yeah, kind of start where you're at, you know. It's it all comes down to like tissue loading and dosing. So that's another huge part of, before I get anybody started on, rehab work, any fitness planning. um, we have a conversation of like, okay, what have you been doing? What is your current activity plan? And if somebody says like, oh yeah, I haven't worked out in a year, well, what I give to them is going to look a little bit different than somebody that's like, yeah, I'm in the gym 5 days a week. We just start at a little bit different place. But I think it's really important to just kind of start where you're at. When we're talking about, injuries and kind of preventing injuries, that's important as well. So, they coined the term the weekend warriors. And I know a lot of people have heard about that. And how that could lead you a little bit more to injuries, just if you're the person that only goes out on the weekends and does, Tough Mudder or whatever other events there is out here without properly training for things. So, it all comes down to tissue loading and dosing. Everything, if you could have nice, slow, and gradual progressions of things, then usually people do really well with that.
I love that you said that, because I think, especially early in my career, not me, I never felt this way, but came across a lot of personal trainers in my career that their philosophy was, if I didn't make you puke, it wasn't good enough. Or if
Yeah.
you aren't able to walk, the next day. And it, like, first of all, if this is the first time you've come to me and you haven't worked out in 6 months, a year, 5 years, and you're in so much pain that you don't want to come back in 2 days,
Right.
what good has it done me?
Right.
None, because you don't want to come back. But what it does not do you any, I'm not starting you where you are at. That to me has always just blown my mind. Like, I don't need to bring someone in who's never worked out, hand them a pair of 15s and have them doing squats and step ups and hammer curls and shoulder press. And then they're like dying. That what we're going to start with no weight for squats. We're going to start with maybe 5 pounds doing biceps, or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm
Mhm.
throwing it out there. But,
Mhm.
this is where you are today. How does this feel? How about 5 reps? How about 10 reps? Let's try 2 sets. Let's go from here. And then when I see you the next time, I'm going to say, how do you feel? I'm pretty sore. Okay. We did 3 exercises and we only did about 15 minutes, but this is where you're at.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to kill you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get a baseline of the things that I see you need, that I know that you are lacking in or not, strong in, what good does it do to make someone so sore that they can't sit down on the toilet? Does it happen? Yeah, absolutely it does. But, you're right. You have to meet somebody where they are, and every single individual is different. Like, I
Yeah.
see
Mhm.
people who work out all the time and come to Pilates, and I just do basic stuff with them, and they are struggling, struggling. And I see people that come in and never worked out a day in their life and they kill it. So you really don't know, but you don't have to murder somebody. It is so unnecessary. Like, find where that perfect, the optimal, what is
Yep.
optimal for this person today, right?
Yep. Yep.
It's, I don't know.
Yeah. And you definitely said it. I mean, everybody's a little bit different. I tell people like, hey, I want to see how you're doing in a couple of days, and we'll kind of make some adjustments and, kind of keep game planning from there. Because you're right. Like, even kind of knowing where somebody's fitness level is, people get different levels of soreness. Sometimes
Hmm.
you'll have people that get really, really sore, and then you'll have people like me where it's like, sometimes I get a little bit sore. I don't get that sore, even with brand new activities.
Hmm.
And I think it has to do a little bit more with genetics sometimes, and how your body responds to stuff and kind of rebuilds. So yeah, that's super important.
Yeah. Although making people puke has never been my philosophy ever. So that is not my that's
Yeah,
not my
it's
thing.
kind of hard to get people to want to come back after that,
I
that being the goal.
I don't know, some people like it. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Oh,
But
yeah.
so if people want to come see you or interested in working with you, where would they find you?
Yeah. So, well, right now we're located in Tempe, Arizona, and we go mobile, but we also have our facility in Tempe. So, either by calling or texting our phone number, so 480-524-0321, or could send us an email at info at Nikao, Nikao performance.com. And if anybody has any questions, we're happy to just talk to you and answer whatever questions you have as well.
Perfect. Do you have anything that you would like to leave our listeners with today? Any interesting tidbits or any advice or anything that you think that they should know before we leave today?
Yeah, I mean, if you're listening to this podcast and you already have kind of a fitness activity plan and something that you really enjoy, good for you. Keep going with it. If you don't and you're just kind of getting started, try some stuff. Maybe go and try Pilates. See if you enjoy trying getting on the bicycle, see if you enjoy swimming. There's just so many things out there. Really just find stuff that you feel good with and try it out. Try it out for a month, try it out for a couple months. Sometimes things are a little bit seasonal too. just depending on, especially in Phoenix with our weather. So some clients, I have a winter plan and then a summer plan with them. But really, find what you enjoy. But the biggest thing is you got to stay active. You have to continue to stay active. We want to make sure that, you have something strengthening, strength, balance, flexibility, cardio are the big things that we look at with people. So for overall health. And honestly, if you don't pay and invest into yourself now, you will be later. So it's better to do it upfront and have a better quality of life than waiting until the back end and not doing it.
Absolutely. Pay now or pay later. That's
Yep.
right. Yep. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I will have all that information in my show notes as well, so everybody can have the link to your website and your phone number and everything too. So
Great.
I really appreciate it, and appreciate you being a guest on the show.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was fun.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Fit Minute podcast, and we will see you all next week.
Thanks, guys.